Greetings. This is Arvat McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside, I always secretly cried and felt miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some amazing guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more. Greetings and welcome to Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is in sickness and in health. And I have with me Scott. How are you, Scott?
Phenomenally. How are you?
I'm terrific as well. It's,
Nice, nice.
it's I know I have said this before several times before now, but as you guys may know now, that we actually record well in advance. We record our podcast well in advance. And so we are still recording under the guidelines of social distancing. So where I live, I'm like off the grid. So unable to get a stable internet connection at my home. So I actually have to drive into town in order to go to a McDonald's or something like that and sit in the parking lot. So that's why I am in my car.
Does that mean you have some fresh hot fries beside you?
Oh, that's a good idea. But I don't know because we're talking about sickness and health. So
Oh, see, okay,
that
all
might not be too good, you know.
right.
But it's always great to have an opportunity to chat about these topics, and I'm just happy that we're able to broadcast to you guys, even though these are the circumstances. And the chances are, by the time this actually airs, we'll be back out,
Yeah.
interacting with each other. Fingers crossed. But for now, it is what it is. So back to the topic at hand: sickness and in health. And this is actually one of my favorite topics. And I don't even know where this conversation is going to go today because it can go in so many different ways because I love talking about health and, about being healthy and how to get healthy, stay healthy, and all that. So I think I'm going to let you start us off, Scott, with like the first direction that you want to go with this topic.
You're right. It can go everywhere, and I don't think you and I have really had much of a conversation in the past, really, about sickness and health per se. But so it will be really interesting, just kind of hearing how everything kind of unfolds here as we're moving forward. And you kind of mentioned just then that by the time people are seeing this, we should be all back, and so I'm hoping everyone that is watching has fared well through all of the stuff that has taken place, and you're in that place of being just simply healthy at this point. So that's what I'm hoping for each and every one of you. But sickness, some people have been just, allow sickness to just create so much fear in them. And, I think that when we are running around in fear, it actually helps us to get to that place of sickness a little bit more. And so if we can remove the fear, we can remove the sickness or prevent the sickness.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think of sickness, that's where my mind starts to kind of going towards, is that it's, even though it appears to be something that's happening from out there, we have the ability within ourselves to affect change, to affect whether or not it's going to affect us or just pass us by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like what you said about fear, in the sense of fear is kind of really what they say causes sickness, causes like 90% of all sickness. So that is just a astounding figure, like 90% of our sickness. And when I say fear, I'm actually relating fear to stress, because fear and stress, they pump the same hormones throughout your body. And so when you are in a state of stress, you are pumping like these hormones that actually ends up shutting down your immune system. So if you think about it, if you are in a fight or flight modality, your body is putting all of its energy towards you, getting the heck out of Dodge. It's not thinking about, are we healthy right now? So it shuts down your immune system. It shuts down everything except for what's going to allow you to either get out of that situation or to come out with your dukes up. And so a lot of times we spend our life in a state of stress. And so that means our immune system is being compromised. And so when you say fear, really, the reason why I say fear is the same as stress. I mean, like I said, it does produce the same hormones, but fear is because you're thinking you're separate from the things that's outside of you. Like you're seeing yourself as separate, and that in itself is what causes the stress in your life.
Mm-hmm. And and that shows up in all different levels. I mean, so I agree with you. It does start by us thinking that we're separate. If we're thinking we're just this one little piece of thing out here in this great big mass universe, but we're this limited being, we're separate from everything else. In that thought pattern, we also begin to think that other things can attack us. And so when we're thinking about other things being able to attack us, to harm us, that in itself is creating stress, is creating that fear. And for me, I also agree that stress is a form of fear. I think fear kind of is a global piece in the way that I kind of use it as a global piece to express just about anything that is not of love in a matter of speaking. Excuse me. So, and there's all types of levels of it. And I've seen some people that they may be smiling, but even while they're smiling, they're talking about this negative thing and that negative thing. And so it's still bringing more stress into their system at that time. And as you say there nicely of it is, if you're feeling that stress, it is the same as if you're ready to fight. If you're ready to run from somebody, it's like your attention, your focus gets very narrow. And in that narrow focus, it is hard to connect to the parts of yourself that are going to heal you. It's hard to connect to that higher self where you're in that place of being impossible to get sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like when you shut down your immune system, you're shutting down so much stuff in your body, but you're also shutting down your growth hormones. And you need your growth hormones because we lose like millions of cells every day, and then they're replenished every day. But if we're in a process of continually shutting down our immune system, shutting down our growth hormones, then our cells are just degrading. And so that's what allows the sickness, the disease, that type of thing to enter into your body and then to do its thing, and it's being unchecked. And so that's like the huge thing with the fear and with stress and how that affects your body. It's so funny. I don't mean to go on a different tangent, but I never know where my eyes are supposed to go when I'm
Right, I keep looking at you. I should be looking at the camera. I don't know.
I know, I look at you when you're talking, and then I look at myself when I'm talking. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be looking at me.
So we wish we could see all of you out there that are watching right now so that we can actually look you right in the eye, right?
Yes, exactly.
Arvat, as you were talking about, this part about the stress and other pieces shutting down, I'm reminded again of Star Trek. I don't know if you're a Trekkie or not, but for any of those that are out there that watch Star Trek from time to time, and for the most part, everything on the ship is working fine. The life support systems are great. Everything is going well. But when they get into battle and the shields start to depleting, they have to kind of pull energy from other places in the ship. And so sometimes they might shut down life support systems from deck 20 to 80 and have all those people move up to 10 forward or whatever. And so they shut down certain parts of life support system to give energy to other places so that they can fight, so that they can have, have the ability to protect themselves and things of that sort. And our bodies are the same as that enterprise. It's the same way. So if we are having to focus on protecting ourselves or trying to fight, our systems shut down other pieces so they can have the energy restored and and ready to go towards that fight, towards that defense. But once we can get out of that fighting type of stance, once we can get to that place where we're safe, we're secure, we're at peace, now those energies are not needed for those resources, and they can be now utilized for other things, such as keeping us healthy, such as allowing us to stay in peace a bit longer, such as being more creative, such as creating and communicating with our higher selves and speaking to the universe in a way that we're asking for things that we actually want to take place into our experience.
Yeah. And I actually was listening to a lady speak, and I'm really going to paraphrase because it was a while ago, but it was really, really interesting to me. And to make a long story short, she was in the regular medical field, and then she just felt like it was some patients she just couldn't help in that way. So she went into alternative medicine, and even in that, she couldn't really make a difference in some patients. And so she developed a whole new system. And the first thing that she had them do is fill out a form. And one of the questions on the form is, why are you sick?
Mm.
And she said that the answers that she received from that, it was just amazing, because it forced people to think about, okay, when did this sickness start? And what was going on in my environment, in my mind, like what was going on that caused me to be sick like this? And so a lot of the answers were things like, I got sick because I didn't want to go to that job anymore. Or my husband didn't pay attention to me, but whenever I was sick, he did pay attention to me. Or, just like really things that they weren't even aware of until they were asked this question. And so a lot of times, if you have like some type of ongoing illness, you might be able to take a moment to ask yourself, like, okay, when did this start? And what was going on in my mind that's causing this thing to happen?
Yeah, yeah. And as you were saying, I was flashing back, and I can't remember if I shared this on here before or not, but I remember in high school taking some of the bigger tests. Anytime I had one of those bigger tests to take, and I was maybe a little nervous, I would get sick like crazy. I mean, I just, just got to get tissues, and it's just like I got to take the test with my head up, and it was just horrible. And 5 minutes after the test was done, I'm completely healed again. And what I realized was I wanted an excuse for why I might not have done well on the test.
Wow.
So I could say, well, I would have did better if I was feeling better.
Yes.
But I was sick, so I ain't do as well. Now, granted, I still did okay on the test. I mean, I still did all right. But I still was giving myself that excuse to not do well.
Wow.
So it's interesting that people can, when they stop and really think about it like that they are able to come up with those pieces that cause their sickness. And the more interesting piece is that if for anybody that truthfully, I believe, does that same experience there, where you're looking at when I first got sick, what was going on in my life? What was I thinking? And coming up with something like what you were just kind of sharing there, you begin to realize that you are the cause of your sickness. And that's something that a lot of people wouldn't believe. Some people will be ready to fight and battle over that, like, ain't no reason I caused this, or whatever it might be. But when you really take on that responsibility that I'm the cause of this sickness, it also gives you the power to be the cause of your healing as well.
Yes. And you guys know I'm a firm believer that everything that we experience in our life is a result of what we are thinking. It's a result of our internal system. And so even with getting sick, basically, if you take cells and put them, you can take identical cells and separate them and put them in two different environments. They will perform differently. So for example, I could take one cell, and then it will divide and become two. And I think every 4 hours or so, it divides again, and then it'll become 4, and then 8. And before you know it, you have like 50,000 cells. And you can take the cells and put them in different cultures. And based on what the environment that you put them in, like the blood culture that you put them in, it will become something else. So, for example, one experiment that was done, they put some cells in the petri dish, and the cells became bones. In another petri dish, the cells became muscle, and then in another dish, I forgot what they became, but it became something different, and it was based on the environment that the cells were in. And so when you think about what's your environment that your cells are in, it's in your own blood and in your own, water system. It's in your own body. So your cells are in your body. Now, what is the environment? The environment is not necessarily what you see when you look outside. Because you and I could be sitting in the same room. You might get sick and I might not. And the reason is because the environment is being perceived through our own brain. And so I may be perceiving it as a beautiful, wonderful experience, wherein you might be receiving it as something to fear or a stress-related type of thing. And so so the environment that we're talking about then is how your cells perform in your body, in your environment that you've created in your body based on how you see the world.
Yeah. Based on how you see the world and based on how you see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might think, I don't really think much about it, but how do you see yourself? Are you seeing yourself as guilty, as a sinner, as somebody that's not worthy, as somebody that's lacking, as somebody that needs excuses for their failures, or just how do you see yourself? And how you see yourself is also going to dictate how you see the world as well.
Exactly.
But you're exactly right. That's the environment that's going to adjust how our cells are going to perform. That's going to adjust whether or not we're healthy, whether or not we're sick, whether or not, whatever we're experiencing. It's all about how we're seeing ourselves. What is that environment that we're creating inside of ourselves?
Yeah. And so I actually was taking a course recently, and one of the things that they said was that all ailment in the body is due to lack of love of self. And so, as you all know, I have been injured and then injured and then injured. So, my knee, my foot, my back, my my hip, my shoulder, it's like from one part of the body to another. And so I'm like, so I'm having all these ailments. Does that mean I don't love myself? And I didn't feel like I didn't love myself. And so I asked that question, like, how is that? And so they were like, well, it's not an all or nothing thing. Like, you can love yourself, but sometimes you can send yourself frustrated energy, like in the same way that you could be frustrated with someone that you love. And so when you're flowing out that frustrated energy, for example, that is cutting off the flow of love. Frustrated energy is not a loving energy. And so when you're doing this flow to yourself, whether you're saying you're not good enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough, you're not small enough, you're not big enough, whatever. Anytime you're like frustrated with yourself, and the whole list that Scott just said about feeling guilty and etc., you are cutting off the flow of love to yourself at that time. And so as a result of that, I actually have been in the practice of really taking the time to send loving energy to my body, and taking the time to really look at areas where I might be feeling like I'm in lack with myself, and just showering myself with all kinds of love.
Nice. That would be an amazing practice to do right there for each and every one of us, to be able to just take that time like that, just to be conscious with it and just stop and just shower yourself with that love, to shower yourself with that peace, to shower yourself with that feeling of being not just barely enough, but being more than enough, of being connected to all that is, to just consciously be in that place where you're loving yourself completely like that.
And like for me, I'm always like, dang, my foot hurt. Dang, my body don't never do what it's supposed to do. Now I can't go running because my foot hurt or whatever. And it's like I send myself a lot of negative energy like that. And so I was like, you know what? My body is just so amazing. And I have never taken the time to tell my body thank you. Like the things that my body has allowed me to do, the sights that my body has allowed me to see, it's just amazing. Like I don't need, just to say this stuff, I just get excited when I think about my body let me do that. Everybody's body can't do that, can't do those things, but my body allowed me to do that. And so I've just been in the practice of just telling my body, thank you. I'm like, and I do this little, I've been doing this little song. I mean, it's just a little chant. And I just be dancing. I'm like, I feel silly telling y'all, but anyway, I'd be like, I love my body. Thank you, body. I love my body. Thank you, body. And then I'm just going over my whole body, like, my eyes, my skin, my hair, my teeth, my sense of smell, my sense of hearing, my ability to feel, my bone. Like I'm just going through the whole thing in my mind. I'm just like, I love you, body. Thank you, body. I love you, body. Thank you, body. And I just feel so fantastic afterwards.
I bet you do. So that hopefully all of you are picking up on those dance moves that she was doing with it. See,
I mean, and I'd be really grooving. Like if anybody was watching me, they would think I have a boombox or something playing and jamming. But I'm like, oh.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, so that's been really fun for me. And then the other thing is I've just really been going through and just really, saying to myself, you are the most beautiful thing I ever created. And I just tell myself that, like, I am the most beautiful thing that I've ever created. I am the most beautiful thing that I ever created. And in doing that, I've been trying to flow appreciation to myself, which is something that I have not done. I haven't done a lot of that at all in my whole life. Being appreciative of myself. And so, so that's kind of where I am in the space of my life right now, is really in this process of loving my body and picking out places in myself where I can do better, and flowing appreciation to myself. So to me, hopefully I'll be able to tell you guys in a couple of weeks, like everything in my body that was hurting me is now healed. So.
All right, I believe you will. And I agree with you. You are the most beautiful thing you've ever created. Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank
you. And that is a powerful gift to give yourself, to be able to, to say, I love my body, and maybe even to go to different parts of your body. Oh, I love my lips, I love my eyes, and just to be able to stop and just love yourself completely. And in doing that, it also doesn't hurt to love those extensions of yourself that are around you as well. And so if you have your kids nearby you, or your mom, or your dad, or your significant other, or just co-workers, or whoever it may be that's in your vision, to be able to either speak it out loud to them, or even just have the thought within about how much you love them, about how beautiful they are, how amazing they are, to see them as that truth of who they are, to see them as the child of God, and to see that light sparkling right there within them. And the more you're able to see it within them, the more you're going to be able to see it within yourself as well. So to be able to give people that gift, to be able to see them and that's my definition of forgiveness, by the way, to be able to see them as the truth of who they are, to see that pure, beautiful light, to see them as that extension of love itself. And so give yourself the gift, but also give it to those that are around you as well. And in doing that, if you take a day and you're just out just gifting love to as many people as you can, you'll still feel that amazingness within yourself as well. And that's how I like to play with it sometimes along the way. Now, I haven't evolved to the state where I'm walking through the mall and say, "Oh, I love your body." I mean, I might get in trouble for doing that, right?
That would be a good idea.
I don't want to do that, but still, it's a great practice to have along the way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I do think I'm gonna say women in particular tend to be very loving towards everyone else. And so I am gonna reiterate the need to focus that love on you. And just like Scott said, the more you can see others, the light in them, the more you can see it in yourself. But the reverse is true. The more you can see it in yourself, the more you can see it in other people. And so, because I am a person that tends to give out a lot, give all of my love away, the whole concept of giving it to myself it's just been amazing and so beautiful, and it just gives me shivers. So it's like it's really great. So I really recommend that. And the other thing that I said I was going to do, and I haven't started doing it yet, but is actually, instead of me like being concerned about, okay, so ever since the COVID-19 and the stay-at-home thing, so my husband has been home a lot. So typically I fix my food for myself, and I eat pretty healthily. I mean, I eat a lot of potatoes and popcorn, but I also eat a lot of, the rest of the balance of my foods are typically not that bad at all. But with him being at home, oh my gosh, he's just cooking and cooking and cooking, and he don't care nothing about health. When he's cooking, he just cares that it tastes good, and it does. And so I've been eating, and so I've had this fear, like, okay, I'm eating more and etc. And I'm just gonna blow up or whatever, which I have put on some pounds. But what I said I was gonna do, instead of trying to restrict my eating, is actually be more aware of the food when I'm putting it in my body. And instead of me thinking, oh, I'm eating this fried food, this is terrible, but to really give the food love itself, and to let the food know, to infuse in the food that this is going to be good for me, and telling my body the same, like, this is going to be super, not just going to taste good, it's actually going to do some good things in your body. So just kind of being aware that how we think affects the environment that's within us. And so to practice being more aware of what I'm putting in my body and the thought that I'm having when I'm putting that food in my body. So that's something I said I was going to practice, and I keep saying it, and then I don't do it. And I eat, and I'm like, oops, I forgot to do it. But developing rituals around that, like developing, okay, I'm going to eat at certain times, and when I eat, this is what I'm going to do, until I get myself in the habit of doing it automatically.
And I find that even sometimes I will stop and consciously pray over the food before I eat it. Sometimes I do it while I'm eating it. Sometimes I do it after I eat it. But I think when you're in that place of awareness and you're blessing your food that way, and being in that place of appreciation, knowing that as you're bringing that in, it's doing great things for your body. It makes a difference. It really does make a difference. And I don't remember the details of the study that I read some years ago, but it was talking about the nutritional content of the food that the food has when it gets into the body is determined some based off of the energy the person had that was preparing your food, but also the energy that you were having as you were eating your food. And so the nutritional content will increase drastically. Again, I don't remember all the details of the numbers, anything of that sort some years ago, but the nutritional content will increase drastically when you're in that place of awareness as you're eating the meal, compared to just, that was good. Or even worse, like some people would do, and I know I've done before, like, oh, that was good. I'm gonna get some more. Oh no, I shouldn't eat that. That wasn't good for me. And, so you start beating yourself up sometimes. That's not a good place to be. So to be able to be in that energy, like you were saying there, but just to be in that place of awareness as you're eating it, to truly enjoy it, to take your time and feel the texture, smell the aroma, just to be able to really be there and to be one with the meal is a really nice gift right there as well.
Yeah, that does sound beautiful, because I do tend to, that was good, can I have some more? So yeah, I'm going to practice that as well, like really slowing down and enjoying it as it's going down. So I think that would make a difference. But then this whole conversation really is about being aware of awareness, being aware of what you're thinking, and then just realizing that you do have the power to create the environment that's within inside of you, and that does come through awareness. And we spend most of our time unconscious, like our thinking is just running rampantly unconsciously. And so a lot of times we may start the day off thinking, yeah, you got these good thoughts going on in your head, but not realizing that the majority of your thoughts aren't necessarily so good. And I know I've shared a number of times of me doing an experiment to try to catch myself at random times to see what am I thinking. And yeah, my thoughts weren't that good. So just as a wrap up, is we do want to make sure that our environment, our internal environments, are like vibrating at the highest vibrations possible. And
Yes.
that comes from being aware. And even if you can't always be aware of all the thoughts that you're having all the time because you're doing other things, you're working and whatever, you might not be aware of the thoughts that's going on in your mind. So of course, one thing to do would be just to randomly just stop and cause yourself to feel some great feelings. Just, even if it's just 1 minute at a time, just cause those good feelings. Think of something that you love and think about that for a minute or two, and just do that randomly throughout your day. But the other thing is just really to start being in the practice of being in a state of gratitude, being in a state of love. So those energies will, and appreciation as well, appreciation and gratitude, which are similar but two different things. So love, appreciation, gratitude, and allow those feelings to just fill you up. And that will cause your vibration to go up. It causes your energy to go up. It causes your environment, your internal environment, to be clean and clear, and causes that growth hormone to kick in and your immune system to be at its peak.
Yes.
So, all right. So you have any closing comments, Scott?
I think you summed it up very well right there. Just, being in that place of awareness is just so important for you, for all of us. And, so if we're choosing to experience health, that is the way to get there. If we're choosing to stay in health, that's the way to make sure you're staying there. It's just to be in that place of awareness and, in that place of love and in that place of peace. Sometimes it helps to just take that deep breath one time first in order to help transition you from that place of stress that we tend to stay in most of the day. And taking that deep breath allows your body to be reminded that it's in a safe place. And so take that deep breath and then kind of move your energy into that gratitude, into that, into that love, into that appreciation. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Scott.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I always enjoy talking to you.
Love being here.
Yeah, I hope soon we can be in person again.
That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to check out my website at arvatmcclain.com. And now also, I have a new course, and probably won't be new anymore by the time this airs, but I have a course that you should check it out. I've been having rave reviews about the course. It's How You Think You Are. So if you check out my website at arvatmcclain.com, you can check out the course to get more information. Until next time, this is Arvat.
I'll enjoy.
Bye.